Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 2211. The topic is Q&A, and the title is, Can I Eat This on My Diet? I was talking with a new nutrition client. We were going through their current approach, their goals, preferences, all those things, and they were listing foods that they currently eat that they would like to keep eating. So they're like, hey, I'd still like to have cheese. I really like cheese. So if it's possible, can I not have to get rid of cheese? And then they were naming some other things. And so after a few things, I was like, well, I can actually, kind of calm your mind on all of these things. So whatever you're worried about being able to eat, the answer is yes. Like, yes, you can eat it. So can I eat this on my diet? Yes. Can I eat potatoes? Yes. Can I eat carbs? Yes. Can I eat, pasta? Yes. Can I have chicken wings? Sure. Like whatever, enter whatever information you want. Like whatever food item. Can you have ice cream? Yes. Could you have pizza? Yes. Could you have Snickers? Yes. Like birthday cake? Yes. It doesn't, like anything. Whatever you want in that question. Can I eat blank on my diet? The answer is yes. Now how? How is that possible? Well, as long as it fits into your calories, it's not going to hinder your progress in regards to like fat loss. If you're in a deficit, as long as you eat it and you remain in the deficit, you'll still have fat loss. If you're trying to build muscle tissue, but you want to do it in a lean way, as long as you stay within your appropriate calorie range while adding that into your diet, sure, totally fine. So one of my bodybuilder clients, they were asking if they could have Fruit Loops before training. And I was like, okay, sure, that's fine. And they're like, really? I saw on a video there was a guy that had Fruit Loops, and I was like, how in the world is he having this in his diet? I'm like, it doesn't, it's fine, man. I was like, it's carbs, it's energy, go to the gym and kick butt, and if you like it, go for it. Really, as long as your calories are controlled for whatever your goal is, anything fits in there. Now, one of the caveats to that, I know there always is, it's always a but, is you do have to be able to manage the digestion impact. And what that means is, I had a client one time, she had an okay breakfast. She underate her breakfast a little bit, even though I kept telling her not to do that. And then she would have lunch, and her idea of a healthy lunch was like salad with like random stuff on it, but it was never enough protein. So she underate her breakfast, and I was like, hey, you're having a 300-calorie breakfast. Can you get it to 500? Yes, I will. And then, didn't. And then I'm like, hey, here's some items that you could add that match with the foods you're already eating. Would you mind adding these? Yeah, sure. Never did. Then we got to lunch, and she was an all-or-nothing type person. So it was either like I'm going to the Mexican restaurant and having, queso and guac and infinite amount of calories, or I'm going to have, salad with a couple hard-boiled eggs on it. And I'm like, well, that's not enough protein. That's not enough calories either. And if you're getting the majority of your calories from salad dressing, that's not, you can make progress that way, but it's not really the best food. So what ended up happening was she asked, could I have a snack in the mid-afternoon? I tend to have low energy. And I was like, you can. I said, however, if you were to adjust your breakfast and your lunch, you wouldn't need that snack in the afternoon because you wouldn't have low energy. But, okay, you could do it this way, I said, so what are you going to have? And she's like, well, there's this chocolate bar that she likes. And I was like, okay, take a little bit of calories from breakfast, take a little bit of calories from lunch so we can have some chocolate. And I was like, okay, fine. As long as we end of the day, at our calories, what do we care? But what ended up happening was she would have the chocolate in the afternoon, and she'd either have too much or she'd go home and overeat her dinner. And she kept saying I think having that chocolate in the afternoon is just really messing me up. Like I get those fast sugars, and now all of a sudden my cravings are so high. And I'm like, no, it is not the chocolate. Like the chocolate isn't the problem. The problem is you're not eating enough at breakfast. You're not eating enough at lunch. And then when you do eat something that tastes really good, we don't have the mental strength to stop eating it. So it wasn't that chocolate was the problem. It was everything around the chocolate. And then the chocolate got blamed. Because it's easier for her to say, well, chocolate's the problem. Let me just always avoid chocolate. Rather than saying, hey, I'm not listening to this dude that is educated in the field and I'm paying money for his advice and I'm not adjusting based on what he's telling me, maybe I'm the problem. It's better to say chocolate's a problem than I'm the problem. Right? That sticks. This is a little bit of like hard truth here today because she may be listening to this. And she's going to know exactly who she is. So I should have hid that better. But that was the problem. The chocolate's not the problem. You're not overweight because you had chocolate. That's not the problem. So that's an example where somebody blamed the food, but it wasn't the food problem. Another example I had is there's a person who really loved big breakfast. So her and her husband had big breakfast, the whole 10 yards, not even 9. It was eggs, bacon, pancakes, like sugar syrup, whatever the hell else people have as big breakfast. And her breakfast ended up being usually around 800 to 1,000 calories. And I was like, okay, that's big because our caloric allowance for the day is only about 1,800, ish. I said plus or minus some, but if you go up over 2,000, you're not going to make great progress that day. So you're having almost half your calories at breakfast. Well, then, whenever her and her husband were together at dinner, they like to go out to eat sometimes. They like to have something fun at dinner. Like he likes to come home and have a good hot meal, that kind of thing. So dinners were always around 800 to 1,000 calories. And I'm like, okay, well, this isn't going to go well because you're eating half your daily calories at breakfast, and then like 12 hours later, they're eating the other half of your calories. First of all, those two halves are adding up to a little bit too much because you're not going to make great progress, so you have to bring down the calories some, but you're only having 2 meals. And what you're eating at breakfast, you're eating at, say, 6 o'clock in the morning, you don't really have any more energy from that roughly around noon. So then from noon to 6 p.m., you have no energy. You're grumpy, you're tired, you feel like crap, you're drinking a lot of caffeine, that's messing up your sleep. And then whenever she would have dinner, she was having a hard time pulling back on dinner to create a deficit for the day to actually make progress, and she was actually often overeating dinner. So the problem was that we were just overeating the caloric amount for breakfast. So what ended up happening was she was like, well, I guess I have to give up my breakfast with my husband. And I said, no, what? Nowhere did I ever say that. And for whatever reason you came to that conclusion, no. I said, you can still have breakfast with your husband, just let's control the amounts. Maybe it's 2 eggs, 2 slices of bacon, and a piece of French toast. We just got to say, hey, if I'm normally going to have 800 to 1,000 calories at breakfast, can I have 600 calories for breakfast? And then does that then give me a little bit of something in the midday where I can maybe have another 600 and then another 600 at dinner? Now all of a sudden we're not showing up to dinner so ravenous and overeating and out of control. And now we're at 1,800 calories that we could do consistently rather than maybe hitting 2,000 or even overeating. So it gets us into a little bit of a deficit than what we were doing before. It gets us a little more consistency. You have better daily energy. You're just going to feel better. So it wasn't that breakfast was the problem. It's not that she can't have bacon and French toast. She can. She just has to have the right amount. So when you ask, can I eat this on a diet, whatever this is, the answer is yes, as long as it fits into your calories. And the answer is also yes, as long as eating that doesn't mess up the rest of your day. It doesn't cause you to have crazy energy, like deficits. It doesn't cause you to be moody. It doesn't cause you to kind of lack motivation and drive for the day. It doesn't cause digestive stress. So I had another client, they had energy drinks that would cause them to have digestive issues. Usually in the midday, then they would show up to the workouts after work and they're like, oh, I just didn't have any energy. And like my stomach was all messed up, from the energy drink this morning. But they had the energy drink like on multiple days. Like, they did that voluntarily many times. And I'm like, what are you doing? Is there something addictive in those drinks? Stop that. Stop drinking that. Get some other form of caffeine. Try another brand. Maybe something in that drink was messing them up. So I see it often where people will blame foods. Like the one client was blaming chocolate. The other client was blaming breakfast. The other client was blaming, having that energy drink. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that specific one, yes, that's a problem. But can we try a different one? Can we try another form of caffeine? Have you drank coffee before? It's just, we're looking for different options, and we're looking for ways to balance our calories and how we feel throughout the day. That is kind of the determining factor of what foods we eat. Whatever foods allow us to hit our calories, feel good during the day, have good energy, no crazy cravings, and we end the day successful. Whatever that is, whether it's pasta, potatoes, bread, bagels, carbs, fats, whatever, whatever the food is, doesn't matter. I've had people be successful on any balance of foods. Protein, carbs, fats, you name it. As long as calories are controlled, there's a baseline of protein coming in. As long as the foods digest well, they match the person's daily energy needs, you can have pretty much any food in a diet, assuming that it fits into our calories and assuming that we can manage the digestive impact of that food. Okay, short and simple today, but I want it to be just straight to the point. If you have any questions, if you need anything, just email me. My email is brutalirongym@gmail.com. If you like the podcast, please share the podcast. The more people we share it with, the more people can help. If you want to support the podcast, you can do a donation on our website, or you can go to Nutricost.com. They're a supplement company. I've been buying supplements from them for over 10 years. You can use the code BrutalIron10 for a 10% discount. And then whatever you buy, we get a 10% commission. So that's a way to donate back to the podcast and also get great supplements at a cheaper cost. And then if you like the information we share in the podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. You can find us and follow us on Instagram and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.